Hello, I'm Will. Welcome to X Investigation. One winter afternoon, a 7-year-old girl walked home from school. She laughed and chatted with friends, happy. Soon, the group said goodbye at a fort, promising to meet tomorrow. But as the friends turned away, the girl vanished without a trace. For years, police received numerous eyewitness reports. Different suspects entered their view, yet every lead sank into oblivion. The case lay dormant for almost a decade, until a man appeared, bringing a sliver of hope to the cold case. The story unfolds in Limu County, known for its abundant hot springs, and the famed Huayan Falls, one of Japan's 3 great waterfalls. Its former town of Kyoto has since merged into Nikko City. It's a major transport hub in the Nikko region, home to the world's longest tree-lined avenue, Nikko Mountain Tree Lane. Over 20 years ago, Kyoto was just a small town where neighborhoods intermingled with fields filled with bends and side roads. At one seemingly ordinary 3-way junction, a child disappearance shocked Japan. December 1st, 2005, a Thursday, 7 a.m., 7-year-old Yuki Yoshida woke from sleep. Her mother had prepared breakfast, her favorite egg roll. She was the second of 3 children. Both she and her older sister lived in Nikko, attending Tenri Ozawa Elementary. Yoshida had just started primary school and had made many friends, so she looked forward to school. Both parents worked long hours, unable to drive them to school, so the sisters usually walked together. After breakfast, as usual, their mother stood at the door, watching them leave, until they vanished from sight. The Yoshida home was about 2 kilometers from school. The sisters knew the route well, often meeting classmates along the way, and after 40 minutes they arrived safely. The day before, Yuki missed school with a cold, missing a math test. Today she had to sit alone in another classroom for a makeup exam. Normally, Yoshida would go home with her sister and the older students. But every Thursday, her sister has an extra class, so school ends later. Yoshida has to walk home alone. Grandma usually meets her halfway, but Grandma was busy today, so she arranged to leave with 2 classmates. 2:30 p.m. First graders are dismissed early. The 3 of them head toward home, chatting and laughing. 2:50 p.m. They reach a 3-way junction. Yoshida's house is on the left front. The other 2 live on the right front. They part, promising to meet tomorrow. No one could have guessed Yoshida would never keep that promise. Grandma finished her errand and got home at 3:30 p.m. An hour had passed since school let out. She called Yoshida's name, but no answer. Yoshida wasn't in the house. At that hour she'd normally be in front of the TV. Grandma found it odd. She immediately called the school. The teacher said all first graders had already gone home. Grandma feared something had happened on the way. She set out to search the route, but she walked all the way to the elementary school and found no trace. By 8:10 p.m. Yoshida still hadn't returned. Grandma's anxiety grew stronger. At 5:50 p.m. she finally called the police. The police launched a search immediately. After questioning the classmates, they learned Yoshida's last known spot was that 3-way intersection about a kilometer from her home. Normally a 1520-minute walk. Police focused on the area around the junction. The road there is narrow. Only 1 vehicle can pass at a time. Dense trees line both sides, forming a natural wall, making the road look very concealed, even in bright daylight. The light is still poor. There are few pedestrians and vehicles on the road. Almost all are local residents. When night falls, streetlights are scarce. The place feels even more remote and desolate. Yoshida was never found. Police sent a K9 unit to track. The dog continued left at the 3-way intersection. It stopped at the first junction. This spot is about 120 m from the intersection. Authorities suspect Yoshida may have encountered something again. Kyoto City had already entered winter. The high that day was only 8 degrees Celsius. That night the temperature dropped further. Time slipped by, minute by minute. When evening came, police and family grew more anxious for Yoshida's safety. A foreboding feeling rose in their hearts. At 9 a.m. the next morning, police launched a public investigation, hoping the public would actively provide leads. But just 5 hours later, Yoshida's family received the news they never wanted to hear. That afternoon at 2 p.m., 3 seniors headed to the Magi County Mayor's office to watch birds. The area is dense with vegetation, a place full of chirping birds. The seniors stopped near National Highway 102 in Magi County. They prepared to enter the woods via a trail. After walking 200 m forward, they suddenly saw a flash of white on the slope beside them. Up close, it was a body lying in the grass. They immediately called the police. Authorities arrived quickly. They confirmed the person was the missing Yoshida. The site is about 65 kilometers from Yoshida's home. Forensic results show Yoshida had injuries and signs of restraint. He died from massive blood loss. Time of death was less than 24 hours. The weapon is presumed to be a sharp object. Along the road from the highway to the hillside, there are spot-shaped abnormal marks. Initially, police thought they were linked to Yoshida's case. Later investigation revealed that hunters, after catching a wild boar, had left those marks while processing the animal on site. According to his mother, on the day he disappeared, Yoshida was wearing a gray hoodie and dark blue jeans, wearing a yellow hat, carrying a red backpack. Police conducted a thorough search around the shop, but found no clothing, backpack, or other personal items belonging to Yoshida. With Yoshida's disappearance, the case escalated from missing person to murder. Because the case spans Rimu and Sichin counties, police from both counties formed a joint task force. 15 years before the incident, a series of kidnapping murders occurred in Rimu and Gunma counties, including the notorious Ashikaga case. Regarding that case, we previously gave a detailed explanation in a members-only video. Interested viewers can watch it there. Fearing a repeat of the series, police are taking the Yoshida case very seriously. They first questioned the Yoshida family. The Yoshidas moved here only 5 years ago. The father works for a pest control company. He was on a business trip to Bazan Island at the time to support the family. The mother takes a daytime side job and works as a cleaner at night. The 3 children are mainly cared for by their grandmother. Neighbors often saw the 3 sisters playing happily in the yard. They were inseparable, playing ball together, riding bikes, a truly warm scene. Their elementary teacher praised them, sweet, quiet, and well-behaved. Even classmates' parents complimented. They said they were a diligent child, not the type to get into trouble. So retaliation seemed unlikely, because the three-way junction is very remote, known only to locals. Police suspect the killer lives nearby. After leads through relatives went cold, they turned to screening suspicious locals. According to nearby residents, the junction where Yoshida vanished was once slated for development as a site, but the project was abandoned. Houses are sparse, with limited access, and weeds have overgrown, turning the junction into a visual blind spot surrounded by overgrowth. Over time it became a security hazard, often frequented by suspicious individuals, like street vendors selling unknown candy to kids. In the past 2 years, police received 12 reports of suspicious persons nearby. A girl had previously been stalked. The day before the crime, a parent saw a strange man. At 3:15 p.m. that afternoon, a man about 40, on a folding bike, appeared at a three-way intersection. There weren't many pedestrians then. A younger girl was walking alone. The man tried to strike up a conversation. The girl kept her head down and didn't respond. She didn't seem to know him. A passing parent grew uneasy. He stepped forward to ask. The man said he'd done nothing. Then he rode off quickly. Yoshida's parents testified. They'd noticed the middle-aged cyclist acting oddly. He even warned his child to be careful. Parents said the man was about 165 centimeters tall, wore silver-framed glasses, had a beard and slightly messy hair. Police drew a sketch from the description and asked locals for tips. They later confirmed he was a resident. It turned out to be a misunderstanding. A week before Yoshida's case, a first-grader girl in Hiroshima was kidnapped on the way to school. After learning this, the man, worried about child safety, volunteered to patrol the area, focusing on younger girls. Which is why he kept showing up at the intersection. His suspicion was cleared. Soon after the crime, someone reported another odd incident. A clerk at a nearby shop said, 2 weeks before the case, in a supermarket parking lot, he saw a girl who looked a lot like Yoshida. The supermarket was 1.5 kilometers southwest of Yoshida's home. Yoshida's mother had once worked there part-time. The clerk said he was on a break. He saw 2 girls in yellow caps, backpacks, standing together in the opposite lot. Concerned for safety, he shouted at the 2 girls. He warned them that playing in places like this is dangerous. The 2 girls replied. They wanted to meet a brother with beautiful eyes. They also said they'd been there 2 or 3 times before, but hadn't seen him. They didn't know if he'd come today. Both said the man usually drove a black car. When the clerk pointed to a black van in the lot to confirm, they shook their heads, saying it was a lower vehicle, hinting it might be a sedan. Later, because a customer arrived, the clerk went back inside the dry cleaners without noticing where the 2 girls went. After the Yoshida case, the clerk saw Yoshida's photo in a report and immediately recalled the incident, then told the police. He suspected the brother with beautiful eyes the girls mentioned was the killer. In an instant, the beautiful-eyed brother became a hot topic. People guessed the perpetrator was a young man, maybe a foreigner or mixed race, or perhaps she wore contact lenses, etc. But Yoshida's mother rejected that theory. saying Yoshida was shy and very cautious, and would never meet a stranger there. Later, a reporter interviewed the clerk who gave the tip. For a follow-up, she shouted, voice shaking, "What do you want to do to me?" Then she locked herself inside the shop, acting oddly, casting doubt on her testimony's credibility. The story about the beautiful-eyed brother was never verified and eventually turned into a rumor. After the crime, police received countless eyewitness reports from across the city and statements, most of which added little to the investigation. But one thing stood out. Many people independently mentioned that they saw a white car that afternoon. A local resident said, "I often saw Yoshida walking home before, so I remembered him well. That afternoon, he rode his motorcycle past Yoshida, and soon after saw a white car speed by. The driver looks only in his 20s. A classmate who walked home with Yoshida confirmed it. They said a mud-splattered white car drove by. The rear had a dent. A young-looking man sat inside. After passing them, the car turned back. Then it sped away. It seemed odd." A witness also said that the next day, near the hill where Yoshida was found, they saw a white car with a chestnutwood license plate. Based on these statements, police retrieved surveillance from the disappearance and discovery sites and nearby roads. The footage shows that around 3 p.m. on the day of the incident, a white car indeed passed the toll booth on Nikogoto Road. B station. It appeared 2 people were inside. Because the video quality is low, the occupants' identities and features are hard to make out. Police spent several days confirming with the parents, who said the people looked similar, but weren't sure. Police then widened the search, analyzing surveillance on nearby highways, and sent case flyers to local driving schools, car rental agencies, and the like, hoping for leads. But nothing turned up. 6 months after the crime, to aid the investigation, police approached a local expert, Lin Mei, who's somewhat famous in the area and skilled at reading details from photos. Police brought several days of pictures, asking Lin Mei to extract the perpetrator's traits. The process lasted 3 days. Finally, Lin Mei identified the suspect as a man aged 2030, nicknamed Takuko. He has round eyes, with the corners slightly upturned. His hair is long enough to cover his ears, but he has no beard. He holds no formal job, making a living from odd jobs. Using this description, police canvassed nearby residents, but found no match. 4 months later, police offered a 2 million yen reward for information on the case, and later adopted a special search reward system. Reward raised to 5 million yen, but the investigation still stalled. Over a year after the crime, Japan's investigative techniques, especially DNA methods, had advanced further. Police re-examined the evidence. This time they finally saw a glimmer of hope. Technicians detected the same man's DNA in multiple parts of Yoshida's remains at several sites. Combined with earlier evidence, police updated the suspect's portrait, describing him as a man living within 5 kilometers of the disappearance site, aged 20 to 30. But that hope soon vanished. 2 years later, DNA from the Ashikaga case was retested. It proved inconsistent with the suspect. Inspired by that case, police, to check for contamination in the Yoshida evidence, re-examined it. They found the DNA matched an investigator. Allegedly, contamination occurred when Yoshida was found. Investigators rushed to the scene. One sneezed, spraying droplets onto the evidence. Others suspect he touched the evidence without gloves. This mistake invalidated the earlier DNA result. Police removed the claim that the perpetrator was male from flyers and posters. The investigation seemed back at square one. The DNA blunder made big waves in the media. The public was stunned. Criticism of the police began to surface. Some pointed to sparse streetlights and weeknight searches. They still can't rule out that Yoshida met an accident or was kidnapped. But just one night later, police launched a public investigation, a rarity in Japan. Meanwhile, premature media reports sparked huge controversy. After the case, at the family's request, police said they couldn't release details yet, so they'd keep the case confidential. Yet a newspaper broke that pact, publishing the case details the next morning, leaving secrecy in tatters. The case details will remain undisclosed for now, but a newspaper broke that agreement. The next morning it rushed to publish the case info, making the secrecy moot. Soon other media joined the coverage. Many think the perpetrators saw the reports, learned of the police operation, then struck Yoshida down. The reports sparked panic locally. A week after the crime, the elementary school finally reopened, fearing another tragedy. The intersection where Yoshida vanished was cleared to improve visibility. Nearby they also installed signs warning pedestrians to stay safe. The area got 350 new streetlights. It is now April 2014, more than 8 years since the case. Just as the Yoshida case faded from memory, police suddenly announced a bombshell. A 32-year-old man now claims responsibility. Investigators are digging deeper. His name is Seiyu Takaya. Born Chen Fan Cheng, he grew up in a modest Taiwanese family. He has an older sister by 2 years. His parents divorced when he was young. His mother worked as a hairdresser. She sent him to a vocational school. To learn a trade, he went to Japan alone. His 2 younger siblings stayed in Taiwan, raised by their father. The father was a chronic drunk, had no time for the kids, and was later jailed for offenses. Meanwhile, his mother remarried to a Japanese man who couldn't bear to leave the children or their cramped living conditions, so he brought them to Japan too. 1994. At 12, Seiyu transferred to Osawa Elementary, the same school Yoshida later attended. He thought returning to his mother would help. But life wasn't better. His stepfather had 2 previous marriages and 3 other children. 7 people crammed into a tiny Tokyo house. The stepfather never accepted him. Their relationship was strained, making it hard for him to fit in. Made it hard for him to fit into the new family. At school, because she was born abroad, her Japanese isn't fluent. She struggles to make new friends. Often she sits alone in a corner of the classroom. Her personality grows more withdrawn. 3 months later, her visa expires. She has to leave Japan. After returning to Taiwan, her father forces her to drop out and work in a factory to support the household expenses. Every time she receives her hard-earned wages, her father spends it on leisure. She and her sister remain very tight-budgeted. Their mother in Japan still worries about the 2 kids. 2 years later, she brings them back to Japan, enrolling them at Daiza Middle School near their elementary. During those 2 years, the mother worked hard and saved money to give the children better conditions and avoid conflict with their stepfather. Not long after, she rents a place in Utsunomiya. So Seiyu Takaya and his sister move in and transfer to a local junior high. Because the stepfather's family lives in the Kisi area, their mother shuttles between the 2 places to care for them. In 1998, 16-year-old Seiyu Takaya graduates middle school. He lands a job at a hotel in Nikko. But he's fired in less than a week, allegedly because he stayed up late surfing the net. He'd wake up late and often be tardy. He then takes a part-time job at a convenience store, but he doesn't stay long. Soon he drifts into an idle life. Meanwhile, his mother's business starts to decline. To support a family of 7, she is forced to start an import and sales venture for shareholders. They have no physical storefront, so they frequently set up stalls in the Kanto region at open-air markets. Eventually, she gets a driver's license and drives to help run the business, also selling online. With mother and son's hard work, the income is decent, but that stability doesn't last long. Soon the mother is diagnosed with myelodysplastic syndrome, a chronic blood disorder caused by abnormal hematopoietic stem cells disease. It could develop into leukemia. His mother needs 2 to 3 blood transfusions weekly. The costly treatment is far beyond the family's means. Scope. At this point, Shin Yuta needs a fast way to earn big money. Ways to earn big money quickly. Through an acquaintance, she started selling counterfeit antique reproductions, but the move drew heavy criticism from other dealers. Unable to open a legitimate shop, he could only set up a covert stall in a parking lot. Even so, trouble eventually caught up with him, and a local gang banned his trade. 8 years after the 2014 iron gathering case, Seiyu Takaya and his mother were arrested for violating the life bond law. The mother received a 1.5-year prison sentence, suspended for 3 years. During the trial, Seiyu suddenly confessed to the iron gathering murder. He was then rearrested on a murder charge. News of his confession sparked immediately sparked widespread attention. When people saw his photo, they noted his name and looks matched the medium's description, very similar to the medium's original description. Some even said Seiyu was handsome and had sold antiques in a parking lot. Likely the good-looking brother the dry cleaner mentioned, brother with striking eyes. In fact, shortly after the Yoshida case, Seiyu's stepfather began watching him closely, often finding him alone in his room online, and once saw a slender knife in his car, which he found suspicious. He reported to police, claiming Seiyu might be a criminal. Police collected DNA from the disaster scene, but a match with the suspect's sample failed, so they dropped the lead. Investigators thought the tip stemmed from a family feud, a revenge act by the stepfather. Now it looks like a botched evidence contamination case that almost let a key suspect slip away, a key figure with major suspicion. After the suspect admitted the crime, police immediately raided his home. 5 months before the incident, he had moved to Kashima City. A later search of the community center uncovered many knives and books detailing bizarre crimes. Even more shocking, recovered computer data contained large amounts of child-related imagery. Some of them seem linked to Yoshida. Also, Takumi Tokiya once posted a tweet It appears to hint at an unusual preference. Quick, get the backpack. Quick, get the backpack. Swimsuit and backpack are the ultimate combo. Once I'm online, I get serious. Investigators found he owned a white car, very similar to the vehicle in the surveillance footage. These raised the suspicion that he may have dumped the body just when everyone thought the case was about to close. The subsequent trial shocked everyone. 11 years after the 2016 incident, the case went to trial at Utsunomiya District Court using the lay judge system, which has been in effect since 2009. It typically consists of 6 randomly selected citizens and 3 professional judges forming a panel to hear major criminal cases. Unlike the jury systems in the US and UK, Japanese lay judges not only determine guilt or innocence, but also take part in sentencing. The final decision needs only 5 members, including at least 1 judge, to agree. In court, the prosecution presented a mountain of evidence against Takumi. They first showed records from the license plate recognition system, known as the N system. When a vehicle passes, it photographs the plate, quickly reads the numbers and letters and logs them. It's worth noting that normally, N-system data is highly classified and has never been used as evidence in a public trial before. The record shows that on the night of the crime at 2:20 a.m., a white car associated with the kidney tumor case was traveling east on National Route 123 near Yodo Company. Continuing east would reach the previously identified magnetic line. At 6:12 a.m., the car turned around and headed west. The prosecution argues this proves he may have visited the dump site that night. Next, the prosecution submitted animal hair analysis from the victim. They pointed out the hair was cat fur, matching the same genetic group as the cat owned by Siyu. Experts say this genetic group is extremely rare. Among 570 cats, out of 570 cats, it shows up only about 0.5% of the time. Prosecutors say that points to the cat hair on the victim, likely from a cat belonging to Shangyu Tuazai. During detention, Shangyu also wrote his mother a letter. In it he wrote, "The incident I caused has caused trouble for Mom and everyone. I'm deeply sorry." Prosecutors say the incident refers to the Yoshida case because during the investigation, the police never found the murder weapon, so almost all evidence they presented is circumstantial. The most compelling is Shin Yutaku's own testimony. The court played a 7-hour interrogation video. In the video, Shin says he took the victim from a 3-way intersection. Yoshida, because he kept crying and screaming, he took him to a hillside in Sichin County. Around 4 o'clock, he lifted Yoshida out of the car, pressed his left hand on the victim's shoulder, causing his death. Putting all this together, the police concluded Shin was bullied in elementary school, maybe harbored a grudge. Coupled with his abnormal mindset, he targeted students at Uzawa Elementary. He'd lived in Jing City before, so he knew the area well. He deliberately chose a hidden 3-way intersection for the crime. But what he didn't expect was, Shin recanted his confession in court. He insists he wasn't part of the group crime. He claims he was treated unfairly while detained. After long police interrogations and leading questions, he was forced to admit a false crime. The incident mentioned in the apology letter only refers to the fake antique sale. The defense lawyer also rebutted the prosecution's evidence, point by point. They noted that the N system logs only show the defendant's car passed through the area, but can't prove where it came from or went. So it doesn't place him at the crime scene. Regarding the cat hair, the defense argues the animal DNA tech then wasn't mature, was not reliable, cannot identify the individual precisely. A single cat could have many offspring. Their genetic profiles were identical in the test results, so the defendant's cat can't be pinpointed. Later, Yudo Gon, a rental shop manager, took the stand. He provided an alibi for Siyu Takwa. Afternoon of the crime day, Siyu Takwa had a record of renting a manga. The next afternoon, he even returned that manga to the shop. Prosecution and defense clashed without resolution. Before closing arguments, the victim's family read a letter from Yoshida's mother. She died of illness a year ago and couldn't attend the trial. In the letter she wrote, Yoshida had dreamed of building an amusement park since childhood, so after Yoshida passed away, they took him to an amusement park. Only this way could they fulfill his dream. Then the victim's family said to Siyu Takwa, "You just told the prosecutor the truth not long ago. Now you deny everything. Are you scared? You must have been even more terrified then." Hearing that, everyone in the room was shaken. After more than a month of trial, the court finally ruled Siyu Takwa guilty of murder, sentenced to life imprisonment. The defense, dissatisfied, filed an immediate appeal. 12 years after the crime, the case went to a second trial at the Tokyo High Court. The defense presented further evidence of the defendant's innocence. Shinyo's testimony conflicted with the crime scene in many ways. There were no pressure marks on Yoshida's shoulders, and the forensic expert concluded the wet marks were from lying flat, not from a slope. Abnormal marks on the hillside were minimal, likely not the original crime scene. At the time, Shinyu lived on the second floor of an apartment in Kashima City. The staircase was open air. He could hardly bring Yoshida to his room unnoticed. As for the computer photos and knives the media blew up, the defense explained. Those knives were mostly decorative items, like one set with turquoise. And the computer was shared by the whole family. Seiyu Takwa couldn't have missed seeing the content on it. Seiyu Taku can't see the content above. He often stayed alone in his room, surfing the net, just reselling antiques for profit, or gaming and reading manga. His tweets were only suggestions for game characters. The defense even pointed out that Saint Yoshida confessed only to avoid arrest. Police first nabbed him on trademark violations. During detention they interrogated him, extracting a confession. That practice is controversial and prone to wrongful convictions. Like Japan's biggest miscarriage of justice, the Kuta-en case. We've covered that case in detail before. Interested viewers can watch that episode. By law, Saint Yoshida should have been tried with his mother, but he was held alone for 44 days and questioned on other crimes. He claims he was once beaten, thrown from a chair and seriously injured, taking a week to recover. In 2016, Japan's criminal procedure law was amended, requiring lay judges in major cases and mandatory audio-visual recording of trials. That means from his arrest to the medical exam, the 2-year interrogation was never recorded, leaving the truth hidden from the public. His lawyer presented his diary from that period, showing investigators telling him, "You have no right to stay silent. This is unacceptable." The lawyer hinted that the pressure forced a false confession. The defense then produced a crucial piece of evidence, a strip of tape from Yoshida's head. The tape measured 5 centimeters wide by 5.5 centimeters long. The court ruled it was used to bind Yoshida. Prosecutors argued the killer handled the tape, so its DNA could identify the murderer. At first trial, the prosecution didn't fully disclose the raw data, so it never became decisive evidence. New tests now show the DNA isn't Yoshida's, but belongs to a third party, suggesting another person may be involved. Faced with the defense's fresh evidence, the prosecution took an unusual step, asking the Tokyo High Court to amend the indictment. They shifted the alleged crime time from around 4 a.m. on December 2nd, 2005 to 2:38 p.m. on December 1st through 4 a.m. on the 2nd. Facing a series of new evidence presented by the defense, the prosecution responded unusually, filed a request with the Tokyo High Court to amend the indictment. They changed the original crime time to around 4 a.m. on December 2nd, 2005, and set it from 2:38 p.m. on December 1st to 4 a.m. on December 2nd. Note: change crime scene from Xicheng County Chenglu, Dagong City Hillside, to Limu County, surrounding Xicheng area. The court approved the request. After 10 months of trial, Tokyo High Court noted that in the first trial, using interrogation video to directly establish the crime was illegal. It can only serve as supplementary evidence, yet the court upheld the life sentence. Following further legal procedures, the Supreme Court confirmed the life term. In 2022, 17 years after the crime, a forensic professor from Jupa University said, "The DNA on the confession belongs to a woman. This could provide a breakthrough for Shoyu Takusai's appeal." December 1st, 2025 marks the 20th anniversary. 43-year-old Shoyu Takusai remains incarcerated at Chiba prison. He mailed a 7-page handwritten letter to Natsuno News. In it he wrote, "I want the whole world to know I didn't do it. I am innocent." Muching's family is also preparing a retrial request. 20 years have passed. Contaminated evidence and disputed testimonies weave a mystery spanning decades. The truth still seems lost deep in the woods. Even now, sunlight cannot fully dispel the shadows hanging over the crossroads.